Hi everyone, I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Ian Cassette in Orlando, Florida, where things are still warm. It definitely still feels like summer in Florida and many in the southeast, but that's not the case across the rest of the country, especially the center of the country where temperatures have plummeted, snow has already fallen, and we are absolutely working our way into the deeper parts of fall. Here's a view from Golden, Colorado, where they picked up some decent snow here this past weekend. Got about a foot of snow. You see it's still sitting on the ground there. It is blanketing the mountains and also on top of the yard and the top of the building here where we do have some decent snow. But interestingly enough, a lot of the snow actually has melted down some, and this is because these early season, even late season snows, that sun's angle has a big influence on how long that snow does stay on the ground. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with the temperatures, it has to do with the angle of the sun. So as a season goes on, that angle of the sun goes down, so the snow melts a bit slower, but we still do have plenty of snow there on the ground in Golden, Colorado, getting that snow in the Rockies this past weekend. We don't have snow on the ground in Houston, Texas, but we do have very cold conditions, overcast conditions, temperatures that have been struggling to get out of the 40s this afternoon. Not exactly the most beautiful day there in Texas, but it is cold, and winter, or rather fall, it feels like winter with these temperatures, has certainly invaded Texas. You see where that cold front is. Let's look at the temperatures across the map as of Monday afternoon. 45 degrees in St. Louis, 37 degrees in Minneapolis, barely above freezing there in upstate parts of the Midwest, 43 degrees in Denver, but the Southwest, Los Angeles sitting at 78 degrees, avoiding the cold, and looking at the Southeast, same story there, 84 degrees in Orlando, but this warmth extends all the way up to the Mid-Atlantic, to coastal parts of Virginia, 60 degrees in New York, with the coldest temperatures that are off to the west. So we definitely have seen these cold temperatures invading from the north, from Canada, and making their way down to the south. How much longer will this warmth last in the southeast? I'll have a little bit more on that coming up, along with how cool our temperatures are expected to get this week. So looking at the temperature changes over the past 24 hours, this tells the story. It's 39 degrees cooler in Houston than what it was at this time on Sunday. Those temperatures have dropped behind that front. This is a potent cold front, and this is what you get this time of the year. You finally get these initial cold fronts that are pulling that air down from the north, invading the U.S. And this one will be strong enough to make its way down to Florida, where we'll see a significant drop in temperatures. Now, not only with this front are we seeing the cold temperatures, but we also are seeing freeze warnings. We have freeze warnings and watches in effect that include Atlanta, northern parts of Georgia, and include Kentucky, goes to the northeast into Ohio, into the southwest to Texas and Dallas, where we do have a freeze warning in effect for tonight. And we did have freeze warnings to the north. We got to remember, we still are in the growing season in these areas, so we are seeing that coming to an end within the next week. Now, behind this front, we've got the cold air, but we also have some snow. We got lake effect snow that's going on in Michigan. And then as we go farther to the north, we have what's called a Manitoba Mauler. Now, you might have heard of the Alberta Clipper. This is just basically the same thing, just originating in the province of Manitoba. Look at all the snow that is falling across the Dakotas and into Minnesota. We have squall warnings in effect there in North Dakota as well. We have winter weather advisories there in Wisconsin, with snow expected to pile up here over tonight and into tomorrow as this low pressure system does swing south. So this will kind of be that reinforcing shot of some colder air, along with providing a chance of some snow. And our Fox weather alert system here, this is just something of note, interesting. You know, it is late October when you have something like this. You have a snow squall warning, that is that flashing color there for North Dakota, but at the same time you have Tropical Storm Pilar that's in the eastern Pacific. So it is just an interesting mix of summer and fall, winter in one warning map there. So we do have warnings about coming along with this low pressure system and this front moving to the south. This cold air, it's going to sink here, where we've got this cold air sinking from Canada and then pushing to the southeast. So as we go on into Tuesday, or Monday night into Tuesday, we have the coldest air that is below freezing falling from Minneapolis, Omaha, Denver, Billings, all expected to fall below freezing. New York, Richmond as well overnight. And as we go on into Halloween, it will be a chilly Halloween for the Midwest. Definitely going to be cold, but still expect to be warm down to the southeast in Florida. Florida does look like we will have warmth for at least one more day on Tuesday before we see those temperatures do fall. And we won't be reaching these levels of cold, but we will have colder air, relatively speaking, to what we have had. So that secondary low pressure system is going to pull down some cold air. It'll also bring some snow into Minneapolis and also into Milwaukee. Expect to get a little bit of snow here. You see it's going to be passing through the Great Lakes, bringing down the winds with it, some of those winter-like winds. So in Bismarck, when you look at what it's going to feel like, where we do have that cold air, the cold winds behind it, it'll feel like it's -2 degrees in Bismarck, 99 degrees in Sioux City, Chicago, 21 degrees. It's going to be a brutal mix of cold winds here coming down behind this system. And that extends farther to the southeast. Paducah, 37 degrees is what it'll feel like Tuesday afternoon, and 53 degrees in Birmingham. So a couple layers will be needed for trick-or-treaters through the Midwest as we go into Tuesday evening. Even to the east, it's still expected to feel pretty cold in Richmond and New York with those temperatures into the 40s. But as we get into Wednesday, finally we join in the party just a little bit in Florida. Orlando, it's going to feel like it's 67 degrees on Wednesday. So the colder air doesn't arrive until Wednesday, and even that is expected to be pretty fair. So these low pressure systems, these strong cold fronts, even though it's strong, it's still a little too early in the season to get the true cold air that sinks down into Florida. But we will still have a taste of some cooler fall air behind this front as we get into Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. So with this, those temperatures will be below freezing across much of the northern half of the U.S. from the Rockies to the east. We have those winds that are just coming down out of the north, out of Canada, and providing that cold air. Now, looking at the snow potential here. So we already have the cold air. You need that. That's one ingredient for snow. Then you need a little bit of moisture, and that's what that clipper is going to provide. So as we go into Tuesday morning, we're going to see that snow coming down from Milwaukee to Minneapolis, passing over the Great Lakes into Michigan. Expected to get some decent snow that's going to be coming down in Michigan. You've got the typical setup with that moisture and that cold air. So this will push itself to the southeast. As it goes farther and farther to the south, not as much going on. So we might see that snow all the way down into Pittsburgh, western Pennsylvania, some very light accumulations. And you see it here with our model showing you that while this won't be significant snow, it is our first snow of the season, and still expected to pile up in a few inches north of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Green Bay up to 2.5 inches in northern parts of Milwaukee, over an inch in Michigan, and then maybe just a trace to a little dusting in Cleveland to the southeast. So there's really not a ton of snow with this, but it's the first of the season, and it could be a little active here as we see this weather pattern building. And this is what we look for these early seasons, how active the jet stream is, and we've already seen it be pretty active so far. Forecast highs for tomorrow: 39 degrees in Chicago, 44 degrees in Cleveland, 51 degrees in Memphis, 86 degrees in Orlando. It would definitely still feel like summer for tomorrow for one more day. But as we flip over to Wednesday, you see temperatures are still plenty cold to the north, even 52 degrees in Atlanta, 50 degrees in Philadelphia, and Florida, central Florida at least, getting back into the 70s, with Miami still in the 80s. So we will have the colder air making its way into Florida, first part of, or at least the upper half of Florida, seeing that cold air, but it will be by Wednesday or Thursday morning where we'll probably see these temperatures plummeting. 48 degrees the low in Ocala, 60 degrees in Sebring to 50 degrees in Jacksonville. Only those areas along hugging the coast that will stay in the 60s, and down to 71 degrees in Miami, with the Panhandle low 40s, upper 30s. Definitely the coldest air of the season so far. But as we look ahead, just seeing where we're going to go, it's not all going to stay cold. The temperature outlook that goes from November 5th to November 9th, so outside that first week of November, it does look like we could see a resurgence here of some warmth, not just in Florida, but definitely for the western half of the U.S. and extending to the north. So this may not last too long, and as we look at El Nino, we might have a milder winter for some here with these weather patterns, the way the weather pattern sets up. But for right now, and for here through the week of Halloween, it definitely looks like it's going to be a chilly holiday. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Ian Cassette. Thanks for watching.